This year is a significant one for Holocaust Memorial Day, with it being the 70th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. The recognition of the horror of those events and the prompt response after World War II in bringing the perpetrators to justice means that the process of closure started very quickly. This also means that the Holocaust is well known throughout the world, and in some countries it's even a criminal offence to deny it. Now, people are very sensitive to any indication of anti-Jewish activities, and rightly so. But this year is also the 100th anniversary of the start of the Armenian Genocide. About 1.5 million people were killed by the Ottoman Empire, around modern-day Turkey, resulting in the first genocide of the 20th century, but one that few people even know about, and most tragically is not even formally recognised as a genocide by most countries in the world, including the US and the United Kingdom. The 8 stages of a genocide start from the arbitrary classifications of people through stereotyping racism to stage 7, which is extermination. Stage 8 is denial, where the perpetrators or later generations deny the existence of the crime. This is the case with the Armenian Genocide. We all know that when something is denied, then it can happen again. The Armenians are very much at risk of this. So who are the Armenians? Armenia is in the region circled on the map between Turkey and Azerbaijan, north of Iran and south of Russia and Georgia. After the great biblical flood, Noah's Ark came to rest on Mount Ararat. One of Noah's sons was called Haik. By legend, Haik is the father of all Armenians. Over the centuries, the descendants of Haik built the Armenian nation in the land surrounding Mount Ararat. This mountain is so significant and iconic to all Armenians. The first written reference to the Armenians was in the 6th century BC. By the 4th century AD, Armenia had become a major part of the region. In 301 AD it became the first country in the world to adopt Christianity. Their language and alphabet are unique. By the 19th century, the Turkic Ottoman Empire had expanded and taken over Western Armenia. Eastern Armenia was then part of the Russian Empire. Before the start of the First World War, the Turks of the Ottoman Empire were already planning the genocide of the Armenians. The first order to start deporting people was made on the 24th of April 1915, which remains the annual Day of Remembrance. From this point on, the killing and deportation of Armenians was systematic. The red circles signify the main centres of killing, the lines are the deportation routes. Many were sent into the desert, where thousands perished. Many escaped and sought sanctuary in other countries. Cattle trucks similar to the ones used by the Nazis were used for the deportations. The plight of the Armenians was known throughout the world, and appeals were made to support them at the time. This one from the Lord Mayor of London, but not enough was done to save them. By 1923, nearly the entire population of approximately 2.5 million Armenians in the Ottoman Empire had either been killed or deported. I mentioned that Mount Ararat is one of the great iconic symbols of the Armenians. In Yerevan, the capital of Armenia, one can look out to the west and see rising majestically on the horizon the wonderful Ararat. But not an Ararat that is in the centre of Armenia, one that is in Turkey, the perpetrators of the genocide. A daily reminder of the injustice of their situation and the weakness and possible corruption of politics in the post-World War I period, which resulted in a treaty and division of lands that rewarded those who committed the crime of genocide. In the top right-hand corner is the current day Republic of Armenia, and to the right of that, Nagorno-Karabakh. After World War I, Nagorno-Karabakh, or Artsakh, was a region of 150,000 people, the majority of whom were Armenians. In the 1920s, following the creation of the Soviet Union, Stalin separated it off from Armenia and allocated it to Azerbaijan as a deliberate ploy to create friction in the region. Armenians were also living in the major cities of Azerbaijan. In 1988, the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh voted democratically to transfer from Azerbaijan to Armenia. This was rejected. Within a few weeks, Armenians in Azerbaijan were being intimidated, violated and killed. Within 2 years, all 360,000 Armenians had been forced to leave their homes in Azerbaijan. By the end of 1991, as the Soviet Union collapsed, there was full-scale war in Nagorno-Karabakh. Innocent civilians were being bombed every day by Azerbaijani armed forces. The Azerbaijanis underestimated the defensive capability of the Armenian people. By 1994, a ceasefire was signed, but no peace agreement, and there is still not one today. Nagorno-Karabakh is now an independent Armenian state. However, you'll not find it in your atlas, as it is unrecognised by most countries in the world, who, by their inaction, keep it invisible inside the conventional borders of Azerbaijan, the land of their enemy. It is unrecognised despite it having all the necessary attributes required of statehood, and despite it being the wish of the people who live there. There is no peace for the people in Nagorno-Karabakh today. Every week, young men are being killed on the front line with Azerbaijan. The Azerbaijani government has a policy of building up massive armed forces and continually threatening to restart full-scale war to regain Nagorno-Karabakh. If that ever happened, there will be no Armenians left there. The Turkish and Azerbaijani government deny the Armenian Genocide and actively promote that position. This is a way of distracting the world community from their intentions in the region. Returning to the theme of keeping the memory alive, if you ever needed a reason as to why it's important to remember, and back in 1939 when Hitler was planning the Holocaust, he is chillingly quoted as saying, "Who, after all, speaks today of the annihilation of the Armenians?" But for the Armenians it is worse than forgetting. It is the denial that is taking place. Today is not just about an historical remembrance of something that happened 100 years ago. Today is about recognising and understanding that the genocide of the Armenians is unfinished business for Turkey and Azerbaijan. From a personal point of view, I'm not Armenian, I'm just an English guy from Derby in the UK. I visited Nagorno-Karabakh on 10 occasions in the last 5 years. I'm now persona non grata in Azerbaijan. That means I'm not allowed to enter that country, one of the few people to be in that position. That tells you something about the Azerbaijani government's views on free speech and freedom of movement. I want to leave you with this image. The ceasefire was in 1994. 40% of the population of Nagorno-Karabakh were born since then. Alina Grigorian is one of them. I met her during my last visit. She's 11 years old, lives in one of the many rural villages. She wants to dance, play with her friends, go to university, get married, have a family and live in peace, nothing unusual. But she lives in a country under siege from Azerbaijan and Turkey, where 20 miles from her home there is an army which has one aim, and that is to deny her her future. Denying the Armenian Genocide makes those who do complicit in it, and denying it risks the lives of people like Alina and the other 150,000 people in Nagorno-Karabakh. The Nazi Holocaust happened because too many people stood by and did nothing. This is happening today for the Armenians. We must not allow ignorance and political expediency to facilitate the genocidal intentions of Turkey and Azerbaijan. I know a lot of people in Nagorno-Karabakh now, and count many as dear friends. I wanted to speak today because I am deeply concerned for their future. I hope now you are as well. Thank you.